As I told you several weeks ago, from time to time, we'll do these little evening chats and talk about things, sometimes weather, sometimes not weather. And so tonight we are very happy to welcome to Weather Chat Live Roanoke School Superintendent Chuch Marcum, longtime friend of mine. Chuch, thank you and welcome to Weather Chat Live.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you having me. Good to catch up with you. And we spent a lot of time together over the years talking early in the morning, dealing with the weather and other issues, and never thought about dealing with a worldwide pandemic, but it's always good to be with you, Don.
Been gone from Randolph County for several years, and we still talk. We still talk about weather and football and other things as well. And, of course, tonight, though, we're here talking about something that I don't think back in 1992, which was 28 years ago when you and I met, I don't think that either one of us could ever have imagined that we would be where we are today with this worldwide pandemic that's going on. And so I wanted to have you on tonight because I know school is set to start on Thursday, and I wanted to give you a chance to talk about what the plans are, where the school system is now, and where you think we're going to go. Of course, it's fluid because this changes by the moment because we've never been here before. We're learning as we go. But school starts on Thursday. So your shot. Well, how do we do this?
Well, let's get together in about 2 or 3 more years, and I'll look back and I'll tell you how to do this, because it's kind of like raising children. While you're actually doing it, you're just having to do the best you can, and you look back and say, boy, I wish I'd have done this, or I wish I'd have done that. And I really think that's what we'll be when we look back at this. It will look back and realize that we made some real good calls, and then we'll say, why in the world, what were we thinking when we did that? But we've been working on a plan literally since March the 13th about how we would come back together, and really picked up during the summer, and it's went through several changes. And basically our plan started out with 2 options. We gave our parents 2 options. One, they could choose to send their child back on site for a traditional classroom instruction, or if they didn't feel comfortable doing that, they could keep them home and do the virtual route. We have about 28%. As I looked at the numbers earlier today, we have 408 students out of our 1,443, and that's a fluid number for some kids are registering, but about 28% chose the virtual route. So basically 1 out of 4. And so we'll start Thursday with those students with the on-site and establishing those norms. We have a virtual handbook for our students that chose the virtual route. And we're going to provide the best education that we can for both groups of those students, because the virtual students are our students. They'll be held to the same standards, take the same assessments that all other students take. And, you know, we were just committed to our kids, to our parents and everyone from the get-go, that the number one thing we promised, we're going to love you kids. Number 2, we're going to do everything we can to keep our students and students and staff safe. And then we're going to go from that on everything we do. We're going to provide instruction, but that's our number one goal, is to do it in the safest environment that we can. And, you know, we could spend an hour talking about which one of those are the best options, because they both have pluses and minuses. It's probably no doubt safer if you'll do the virtual instruction to stay away from COVID, if you stay at home and do the virtual and don't go out and do the other things. But also there's some research out there how the negative impact of staying home and not being in class with your friends and getting those good meals and safe environments. So there's a lot of things to balance, and I spend a lot of time praying and just hoping we get it right. And that's my goal, is to, as I tell our staff, we want to be on the right side of history. We look back at this, let's be on the right side of history, that we made the best decisions, and keeping that as our guidelines, that we're going to love our kids, and we're going to do everything we can to keep them and our staff safe.
You know, everybody looks back on their life and they think about the things that they've accomplished. And you've heard me say this before, and you're going to probably wish I not say this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I did serve on the Roanoke City School Board for several years, about 10 years, as a matter of fact. And one of the things I'm most proud of, and there were several, that group that we worked with, that I had, did a lot of things in those 10 years. But one of the things we did was hire you. And I stake my reputation on it, for whatever that's worth, that you are speaking the truth when you talk about the children's safety comes first, and that you will love them just like they're your own. And in the comments that I get and from talking to folks in town, everybody knows that. They know that your heart is in the right place, and so is the entire staff at Roanoke City Schools. And so safety is going to come first. And I know you, and I know from the 3 a.m. phone calls and conversations we've had about impending severe weather and ice storms and snowstorms, I know that you're going to err on the side of caution. So I would feel very comfortable in sending my children to school in the Roanoke City school system, given this COVID-19 mess that we're dealing with. Because I know you... well, I'm looking at you. You've picked up a few gray hairs in the last couple of months, just like I have. So I know
you're turning gray or turning loose. One of the two.
Yeah, and so I know you've looked at this from every possible angle and have the best plans there. Now, you were talking about some students are going to do virtual, some are going to do in class. It's already been predetermined who those people are going to be. Now, is this? I can do it this. I can do it this way 2 or 3 days, and if I change my mind, I can come do it in school. Can you switch back and forth? How does that work?
Great question, and probably something I've dealt with as much as anything since August the 3rd. Before I answer that question, I want to thank you for those kind words. And the thing that I think about you, Don, and our relationship that we've had, your famous phrase to me every time we had to make one of those tough calls about whether to have school or not is the course of least regret.
Absolutely.
What's the course of least regret? And that's what kind of guided us, kind of guiding us through this now. And I think about that. But back to your question there, it's twofold. What we said, if parents chose the virtual option, and we gave them a 2-week period there, that by August the 3rd, that was the last time they could opt out of the virtual option. So after October the 3rd, if you chose you wanted to do the virtual option, then you have to stay in that mode of instruction. If you're at the high school or the middle school for the first 12 weeks, or what we call a trimester, or at night in low for the first 9 weeks, because they go on a 9-week system. And after that, if you want to come back on site, you can. And the reason we did that is it's for planning purposes. We're trying to do our best to have social distancing in the classroom. So if we get a classroom set up, say with 14 kids in it, and we can keep them 6 foot apart, if we let someone right at the last minute say, hey, I changed my mind, I want to come back on site, and we let 2 or 3 in, then that messes up the entire configuration of the room. So it's not trying to be difficult. And I've had at least 7 of those conversations over the past week with parents who said now they want to change their mind. They want to come back on site. And we just can't do it. But if you do it for one, you have to do it for everyone. And we put all these plans into place doing that. So if you choose the virtual, you can't opt out until after the first trimester or the first 9 weeks. Now, if you choose the on-site option, we will let you go to the virtual. And you say, well, Chuck, you're not being consistent. Yes, I am being consistent. The reason is that same example of that classroom that has 14 kids in it, if 2 decide I'm not ready for this, I want to send them back, I just can't do it. If we take 2 out, that puts us down to 12. We'll just have more distance.
Yeah, more space, yeah.
We got more space. So we are, but some of my friends, and they are my friends this week, have not understood that. They're saying you're letting one student and you're not letting the other. No, we're being consistent. If you chose the virtual option and it's after August the 3rd, which of course it is, you can't opt out. But if you chose the on-site and you want to go to the virtual, then we will. And like I said, I'm not doing a good job of explaining that, according to some of the people I've talked to this week.
And so the idea there is the social distancing in the room. So adding to is the issue, not taking away.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to do the best we can to try to make kids and parents feel comfortable about what they're doing. But you have to have some guidelines, and I'm not backing away from that one. That is one that we're going to be firm, fair, and consistent. And I haven't done it for anyone. I'm not going to.
Well, and it wouldn't be fair to the students that are there on site, too, if you start adding more to and spreading the room out and just changing the whole game plan. So I completely get that. Before I forget, for those of you who are watching on Facebook, if you have a question for Chuck Marcum, I almost called you Coach. That happens.
I love that. I love that title. Go ahead.
If you have questions, all you have to do is put them in the comment section there below the video. Now, Chuck cannot see those questions right this moment, but I will ask the question if you have a question, and then after we finish the live portion, this will post on Facebook, and maybe Mr. Marcum can go back at some point and look and see if there's any questions we don't answer. He could certainly answer them, or I'll get the answers for you. One way or another, we'll get your questions answered. You also see the phone number to the board office there on the screen. You can call that number. You can go to their website. Man, wealth of information on the website. Kudos to whoever's doing the website now. It really looks good.
Mr. Blake Tread was in charge of that, and he does a great job.
Should have known. Everything good. He's behind it somewhere. Very good job on the website. And really, any question you might have will probably be answered there on the website. So check that out as well. The website address is there on the screen. All right, let's go back to virtual versus on-site. Question about, so do we have cameras in all the rooms? How are the online students getting instruction?
Okay. The state of Alabama this year has provided us all systems in the state that chose to use this. They're providing each school district an LMS, a learning management system called Schoology, and that's what they're pushing out different programs through, and they will for the next several years. And one of those is a content, educational content called Schools PLP. And what this is, kindergarten through 12th, 12th grade, it contains lessons that are aligned to Alabama standards. And inside those lessons are videos, projects, and other type work that you'll have to complete, and with assessments and other things that teachers can put in. So what we're doing this year, to try to simplify this for our teachers, is that whether you're an on-site or a virtual, the teachers are going to deliver the instructions through the school's PLP. And I know education, we speak a different language than the real world, so I don't want to get too deep in those weeds, but that's how we're going to do it. And the reason being is that if we do have an outbreak in Roanoke, that we can go to virtual everyone just like that, because we're blessed in that every one of our kids, K through 12, has their own Chromebook, and not all systems have that. So we do. So instead of teachers having to have a different lesson, and not to say they can't add a little bit here and there, and teachers will from time to time, but they want to stay on the same pace. So if we have to shut down on Wednesday, everybody can pick up on Thursday. So whether you're doing the on-site or the virtual. Now we don't have the cameras. Now we have one thing that we are implementing this summer out of some of the funds that we've received from the federal government is we're putting interactive panels in all of our classrooms. And we're getting trained on those as we go. And they'll have some capabilities that we can record lessons or work. If a math teacher, for example, is going over a new concept, it can record that on the board while they're doing it, and they can share that with a student later. But that's how we don't have live cameras or live that you can do it live as they're doing it. But teachers will be there to assist. And there's one thing that I've committed to our teachers this year is I'm going to protect them. We cannot expect teachers to teach all day on site and then go home and do virtual. So one thing that we're doing, because of we're classrooms, all the students will be eating lunch inside their classroom. The cafeteria staff will actually bring the lunches to them to keep people out of the halls and out of the lunchroom. And so they either eat there or they'll go outside. We cut out breaks. So we're actually going to end the school day a little early. Like high school is going to end around, I think, at 2:05. So then when the students leave from 2:05 until that 3:15, 3:20 range, that's a time the teachers will be working with their virtual students. And also they may do it earlier during their planning. The whole concept there is we want to take care of our virtual and our on-site during that 8 to 3 work hours for teachers. I know no teacher works 8 to 3, and they'll be mad at me for saying that, but as close as they can. We're going to burn our teachers out. We're going through a teacher shortage like it is, and we just can't expect them to teach all day on site and then go home that night and do virtual. And there's a third group of students we haven't hit that we call those hybrid students, and that these will be students that have been quarantined or maybe in isolation. Either they're a positive COVID case or they've been exposed to someone that has COVID, so they will stay home. But they'll continue doing their lessons virtually till their time is up, whether it be 14 points exposed or 10 if they're actually a positive case. And then they'll have the choice then when they get ready to come back to on-site or just to say and continue to do it virtually.
Okay, so that's good. In the event that you do, if you have an outbreak and you just have to shut the whole system down, then you can pick up right where you left off with everybody going virtual, is the way I'm hearing this. Yeah.
Yes, sir, that's the plan.
All right, that's great. I do have a question. Someone wants to know if the classrooms have enough Lysol and sanitizer supplies, and will the rooms be sprayed every day?
Yes, we have a cleaning protocol that our custodians are doing, but not just our custodians, our teachers and our staff are doing that. We spent a lot of money this summer disinfecting and doing deep cleans in our buildings, and we've sprayed some. We got electrostatic sprayers, which that's way over my head, but this has the capability of wrapping around the desk, not just the top part of the desk. And doing that, we sprayed all of our buildings. They tell us that's good for 30 to 45 days, and I don't have that much faith in it. We've done that, but we're going to continue to do stuff daily. We bought foggers for all the buildings that we will do at least once a week and come back with this product that we bought that we feel real comfortable about, that has a lot of success in other places. We'll do that. And then teachers in the room will have squirt bottles. They'll do doorknobs and high traffic areas throughout the day. Now, one thing that we're doing, like at the middle school, our students are not going to change classes. Our teachers are going to change classes.
Oh, okay.
That'll keep kids out of the halls. I do not want one of those pictures like we saw on TV of the school there where they were packed in the hallways, no mask on. So in the night in low, we'll stay pretty much confined to a single class. The high school is a whole different animal. You just can't do that because kids have different classes all over the building. But we are going to do our best to keep them on the right side of the hall, literally on the right side as they're going down, and also to wear their mask and to do that. But to answer your question, yes, any supply our teachers want that we can get, we're going to get that for them. We bought them. Some of them have particular requests on the types of mask they want to wear, someone do the shield and the mask, whatever like that we can do to help our staff feel more comfortable. We're going to provide that for them.
All right. So, is there going to be somebody standing at the front door taking temperature of every student that walks through that front door and faculty? And how's that going to work?
That's something we spent a lot of time looking at. Literally, we spent at least an hour one day this summer in one of our leadership meetings as we was working on this plan. We composed this great plan. We bought these touchless thermometers where we can check with the gun there and check their temperature. For example, at night in low, the plan was going to be when they got out of the car, we was going to check their temperature, and if it was 100.4 or higher, then we was going to just put them back in the car and not let them in the building. Well, I've tried to attend every webinar or live meeting I could get my hands on or to go to during the summer, and I went to one. It was one of the best ones I went to was at East Alabama Medical Center in Opelika, and Dr. Ricardo Maldonado was the speaker there. And he spoke to us, and we talked about that plan, and he said that was not a very effective way of doing it in school. The reason being, and I never had thought of this before the meeting, and he explained it, but for it to really be an accurate reading of the temperature, you got to let that child get out of the car for about 10 minutes and let them get acclimated with the surroundings around them. If not, they may have gotten out of a car that was hot, or they may have been packed in there with other siblings, or they may have been right in front of the air conditioning. And it's not an accurate reading. So you'd have to wait 10 minutes and then check it and then let them in. Well, there's no way we can do that. That's just not realistic. So we still have the touchless thermometers, and the teachers will have access to those. And if they look at a kid that they have suspicion about, they know their kid's behavior is not what it is, or they look flush or whatever, we're going to check it. And if they do, then we'll send them to the nurse to the isolation room and have their parents to come get them. But that's a long answer to your question, but the answer is no. We're not going to check them before they enter the building because we just don't think it's an effective use of our time or of our people.
And folks, I want to remind you again, if you're watching us live, you can post any questions you may have of Superintendent Chuch Marcum in the comments section. And he can't see them, but I will ask those questions for you. So here's probably the biggest message that we can get out there to everybody right this moment. And that is, don't send your child to school if you even remotely suspect that they may be ill with anything.
Amen. If I could get one point across, this will be an effective use of my time tonight with you, Don, and for the people that are listening. It's a paradigm shift the way we've usually went about doing things. We usually, say suck it up and get to school, and you don't need to miss school, and kids want to exempt their tests, or they don't want to have these absences. First of all, no, we've completely eliminated that this year. No exemptions will be, or any incentive awards will be tied to attendance, because we don't want you at school if you're sick, or if you think you may be sick, whether that's staff or student. Stay home. Get on your Chromebook and do your work from the house, and touch base with your teachers. Let them know you're not feeling well or whatever. You're not counted absent. You just do your work. But for this to work for us in Roanoke, the first line of defense are our parents and our guardians. Check your child. Don't send them home. If you've got someone in your house that you suspect that's got COVID, or definitely if they've tested positive for COVID, don't let us know, so we can quarantine your child, and don't send them, because you're putting other people at risk. And we're doing everything we can to mitigate this COVID in our schools. But that's the first thing. So please don't send them to school if they're not well, or if they've been exposed to someone that's not well.
All right, so that brings to the next question. What's the threshold on test positives to go virtual? What's that plan look like?
I don't have one, Don, and not to duck your question. I don't have a number that say if we get here. I'm looking at the Alabama Department of Public Health for our 14-day trend of where we are, which right now we're in the yellow section, the second to the bottom. But far as specifically to Roanoke, I don't have a set number of, hey, if this happens, we're going to shut down. I do say this, and I'll say it to everyone, and I hope I'm wrong, but we're going to have positive cases. We just are. I mean, we're going to send over 1,000 kids back to school. We're going to bring back 175 employees, and I don't think it's realistic to say, hey, we're going to do all these steps that we've been doing that we feel good about. We will not have any cases. We will, but we've got a plan once we do to try to remove those and those that's been exposed. But I don't have that cutoff number. The thing that worries me the most about keeping school running is for our staff to have a breakout in our staff. As much as I don't want our students to get it, and I don't want a single one of our students to get it, we can survive those as far as the operation of school more than our staff getting it. Like if I get an outbreak in third grade and if I have every third grade teacher get it, and that shuts, we don't have enough sub. We are critically low. If anybody's listening, they'd like to sub for Roanoke City Schools, please come see us tomorrow. So we have a shortage in subs. We have some of our subs who've decided they're not going to do it this year, and that worries me as much as anything about keeping school open, is if we have an outbreak in our staff. So we're trying to keep our staff separated. We're not going to have group faculty meetings. When you were here with us on the board, we had the big institute day where we all came together. We didn't do that this year. We're trying to keep people separated, keep that social distancing. We're wearing masks. We are requiring masks for students and staff. And of course, washing hands. We put 48 hand sanitizing dispensers in the buildings just this week, separated in different strategic locations in our building. And most of our classes in kindergarten through 8th grade have a capability of washing their hands in the classroom. We don't in the high school, but we're constantly pushing those three things and wearing our mask. And but I don't have a number that if we get 5 cases, we're shutting down. I'm just going to play it and see, we'll have to see where it goes from there.
All right. So if you do have a problem and you have a number of staff that just the scenario you just gave us, third grade. So let's say that happens either at Night In Low or at the high school or at the middle school. And you have to shut down. So then the virtual can continue to operate if you have to shut down because of that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll
see, that's the beauty part about it then.
Yes. Yes, we'll go straight to virtual. And of course, if that teacher's real sick, she's not going to be able to it. But if she's just been exposed,
Yeah.
then she'll be able to continue on. But yeah, that's what we'll do. And one thing we're doing too, this could happen. We're doing everything. You're familiar with this, and our parents will be familiar. They're listening. Like Night Inlow, for example, it's really a collection of different buildings. So we're trying to do our best to keep third grade teachers and students in their building.
Mm-hmm.
So if we did have an outbreak in third grade,
it'd be
we
confined.
could just shut third grade and K through 2 keep running.
Yeah.
And that could happen. We're not going, or it could be one classroom. We just have one classroom that's got exposure. That one class might be quarantined or shut down and keep everything running. It's not going to be, like last year when it hit us, we just shut everything down. I could see scenarios where one school would be open or one classroom could be closed. When I say closed, go virtual is what I mean by closed, not on site.
Right. All right. So what about buses? Are buses going to run this year?
Yes, sir. We're gonna do buses. That's now one thing that we'll do with buses and back. I don't think I answered this completely at the high school classroom. Anytime we change classes or change students on the bus, we'll clean those seats and those bus seats before another group of students get on. They'll have they've got the disinfectant and the cleaning supplies on the buses.
Mm-hmm.
So they have we send a bus every period from the high school down to the outdoor education center. So Coach Pike's our teacher, and when he brings that group back before another group of students get on, we've got to literally clean that bus. So he's got to do it, or we got to have some procedures set up. Same thing in the high school from first period to second period. Before those second period kids come in and sit down, we're going to clean those desks. But we will run the buses. I can't sit here and tell you we're going to be able to social distance on every bus. We had our coaches meeting today in talking about travel to our first away game, and Mr. Lamar Bunner's over transportation now, and the guidance he was given that we need to have one kid to a seat in social distance.
And that'd take 15 buses.
That's right. We'll put about 14 kids, I think, on one bus or something like that. So that's not feasible. What we've been told as superintendents, I'm blessed in Roanoke that we don't do door-to-door busing like a lot of county systems do, but the meetings I have sat in and listening to my colleagues discuss this, what they've been told to do is that kids have assigned seats and look straight ahead and don't be turning around talking to the person across the aisle. But the assigned seats are a big deal, not only on buses, but kindergarten through 12th grade. We have to have assigned seats. Mm-hmm. The reason being is when we do have someone who tested positive and the Alabama Department of Public Health comes in and does their contact tracing, we have to upload that seating chart. And they're going to look and they're going to see where little Johnny was and everybody that
for the contact tracing,
yeah. For the 6:15, if they're within 6 foot for 15 minutes or more, then it's going to get everyone that's in that circle. And if you don't have that chart, they're going to take the whole class because they won't be able to say who was exposed and who was not. So it's very important that we have those seating charts.
Yeah. Without the assigned seating, you couldn't do that, and then you'd end up losing the entire class when you could probably avoid that with the seating, assigned seating. Yes. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
all right, so I've got all kind of folks wanting to know what's gonna happen with football. That's a very
you like my mug, there, don't you?
Well, I've been trying to. The monitor that I look at is to my right, so that it appears that I'm looking at you, but the live monitor from you is on my left, and I keep seeing that cup, and I'm not even going to look. I know what it is.
That's how good of friends we are. See, we can get past that and still be friends. That's close.
And that's what it should be. I mean, that's how it should be. This guy is from Walker County, Alabama, just north of Tuscaloosa, moved to Randolph County, Alabama, just north of Auburn, and so we do this. But it's all in good. Did you ever think the Auburn-Alabama game would not be the last game of the season?
No, there have been a couple of times it has happened. When Alabama was on probation, they picked up Hawaii those 2 years.
Yeah, I remember that.
But other than that, no, it doesn't seem right. But I saw today where Alabama's giving only 20% of the fans are going to be able to go to Bryant Denny this year, and that's just
that place holds 200,000, Chuck. So that'll be. But anyway,
back to football.
Yeah,
you
back to football.
About handling football, don't you?
Back to football. The year was 1990. You came to Roanoke, Alabama. You came to Roanoke. You came to Handley as a coach.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and Mike Parker. was the head coach. And then in '92, I came along to work the radio station and was doing Handley football. That's how Chuck and I became such good friends. And then over the years, it turned into being on the school board and my years with emergency management and helping with that. And so, yeah, we go way back. So how? I just, you try to stop and think about the things you've dealt with in your lifetime. And we all sit around, and you're somewhat of an emergency manager because you have over 1,000 students you have to take care of. So you think about it all the time. You think about things that could go wrong and how to mitigate against those things. That's what I do for a living. You ever think we would be where we are right now?
Never.
I mean, I thought we would, I knew there's always been a chance we'd have a pandemic. We've had pandemics before. But as a society, we've never reacted to a pandemic the way we have. So there's more than one element going on here. That's for a whole nother discussion at a different time. But it is what it is, and we're dealing with it. So football is going to happen. What's it going to look like at Handley High School and at the middle school?
Okay. Well, first of all, a little bit about our structure at Handley High School, and that's changed a little bit since last season. And Mr. Greg Foster was our principal and athletic director, and he left, and Mr. Todd Coe was taking over as principal. And I made the decision, and the board approved my recommendation.
Great decision too, by the way.
Oh, thank you. And that Mr. Coe would be our principal, and that Larry Strain would be the athletic director. And that was nothing that, for one moment, to think that for me to not think that Todd would have done a good job as athletic director. But Dylan, your first year as principal during this pandemic, I want to do everything I can to set him up for a successful experience. Yeah. And then Coach Train had been athletic director several years at Woodland. He's a coach, outstanding football coach, as we all know, but he loves other sports too. So he'll do a great job as athletic director. And plus, those two work real well together. And I've been working with them some too, and we developed their plans. What we're going to do for football at Handley High School is that, basically we've been told that these are local decisions that we have to, as long as we conform with the guidance we get from the Alabama Department of Public Health. So what we're doing in Roanoke is we literally went out and counted the capacity of our stadium on the home and visitor side. Roughly 2,500 seats on the home side and 1,500 on the visitor side. A little bit more than that, but we went with those numbers, and we took half of that. So we're going to sell 1,250 home tickets and 750 for the visitors for 2,000. You can say, well, but understand that does not guarantee everybody a seat. We're blessed in Roanoke the way that our stadium is set. It's in a hole, so there's so many places you can stand and watch a game. On the south end of the stadium, and then on the north end as well, on the banks on both ends. So we feel like we can still have that social distancing and be in compliance with what our guidelines are. Our second step that we made, the three of us decided that our first priority on tickets are to the parents of our players, our cheerleaders, and our band members. I mean, we got so many fans and members of the Handley family that we appreciate their support. Some have had season tickets for 40 years and longer, but it has to be the priority, or the parents. Yeah. So what we do is Monday through Wednesday, they get, at the end of the day on Wednesday, whatever they haven't bought, plus the other tickets that were not, because we'd still have some tickets that were not included in that allotment, and any tickets the visiting team returns that they don't sell of their 750, we're going to make those available to the public from 5 to 7 o'clock on Thursday on a first come, first served basis, and just do the best we can with it. Some things that we've done around the stadium, we'll have hand dispensing stations all around. You are required to wear a mask. That's part of the criteria to get in through the gates. You have to wear a mask, and we ask you to social distance and work with us on it. If we don't work together on that, we don't do what we're supposed to, then we'll have to be flexible on that plan and cut our capacity down even more. And we don't want to do that. So we're asking people to work with us.
So what about, let's say, the band? So they're going to be, I know they're going to be grouped together, but are they going to be social distanced from everybody else and themselves as best as possible? How's that work? And the cheerleaders.
What we're going to do on that, Don, is the band will be actually down on the field in the south end zone, in that area behind the goalpost and the track. We're blessed having that oval around the field. So we'll put the home team band in the south end zone. The visiting team band will be in the north end zone. We'll have chairs socially distanced in that area, so they'll literally be on the field. I know that's not the best view for them, but that creates us some more space in the stands for our fans to see it. And Miss Stephanie Baldwin, our band director, has been real receptive, and she understands what we're trying to do. And they'll get to perform at halftime and do those things. But that's not ideal, but it's the best. And the cheerleaders will stay on the track. They will not get on the field. They'll be on the track. One thing that the guidelines we've been given is we have to be real selective. Only essential personnel can get on the field. You know, like iSchool Sports does all of our games, and Bryant Whaley is the sideline reporter. He's not allowed on the field this year. And that being an example. But any other, like we've had some guys that keep stats for us for years. They will not be allowed on the field. Just coaches and essential personnel on the sideline.
Such as officials and medical people and that sort of thing.
Yes,
All right, so what happens when Handley plays on the road?
That's the problem, because we have 138 systems. You have 138 local decisions, so not everybody's looking at it the same way. For example, our first road game is against Beauregard, and they're asking us not to bring our band, and because we're only going to get 400 tickets total, and if we took our band, that would be 100 of our tickets right there, not counting chaperones and all that. So, and they're not going to have their band. They're only going to have 400. So they're doing it 400 tickets total. So it's going to be week to week, just according to who we're playing.
And what their local guidelines are.
That's
that they have set locally.
That's correct. They set with the parameters. It's supposed to be in keeping with what the Alabama Department of Public Health order says. It's supposed to be in keeping with that. But you understand why it's different. Some stadiums rather are flat. They can't get up on a bowl like we can and have standing room on. Some are just the seats. So every place is different.
Well, and that's right. And this whole thing is not a one size fits all in any aspect.
No.
I mean, it really isn't. States are different, counties are different, cities are different, schools are different. It's just totally different, and so that's why, and that's one of the things that's happened here in the state of Georgia. Governor Kemp has just really tried to do the right thing, but leave it up to the locals to make decisions based on their particular situation, because you can't just say, you can't take a cookie cutter and say, here's how we deal with COVID-19 in any aspect of the conversation. I mean, you can't do it.
No, you're right. I mean, I've never been a big fan of those prescriptive orders that are the same for everyone, because what works in Roanoke doesn't work in Mobile County.
Right.
You have to. I agree. You need to adapt it, but you need to do what's best for your kids and your staff, and make sure safety is your top priority. Let that guide you, and take the course of least regret.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I love it when he says that. I know where it came from. All right, so Adam Slay doesn't know this yet, but he is going to be probably our next special guest on Weather Chat Live. And we're going to let him really get into the mechanics of how it's all going to work. And this is, I really kind of wish I was still hanging out, because I would love, I've always dreamed of seeing this day come. So here's one positive that's coming from it. And that is this year, some video for the home ball games.
Yes, I really appreciate Adam doing this. And it goes back to graduation, actually. Adam really saved us, and especially me. My son graduated this time, and his grandmother was up in Hubbardville and was not going to get to see her grandson graduate, but thanks to Adam and what he did for a lot of the local schools around here, he live streamed graduation, and he does such a great job with everything that he does as far as trying to make it a first-class production.
Chuck, that's because he calls me and I tell him how to do it. We stay on the phone constantly. I'm his behind-the-scenes advisor. But we won't.
You're doing a great job. I think Mr. Wes Kinsey had something to do with that too.
Yes, he certainly did.
Because Wes, we had to be done right, and the same thing you've always been. Always had to be things done right. Just not not just to have something out there to have something. You want it done right.
You know,
but back to this,
and that's what you get with Adam Slade. We've had that conversation, you know, and if it can't be done right, we're just not going to do it. So he and I both see that, and we work on a lot of things together. Folks don't know that; they're probably about to find out, but. That's what it takes to make things work, and I just really am excited and look forward to seeing how all this is going to work. There is a fee, and like I said, I'll have him on to talk a little bit more about how all this is going to work. But there is a fee, and so the fee is going back to the school, though. I understand.
Yeah. Adam is not taking any of the money off of this personally, as far as the streaming part. He's doing this for all the schools in the county, and including us. There's a fee of $14.99, and what that does, you'll get a code once you pay that, and it'll give you that code. It'll be good for one device, so don't think you can buy one and share it with all your friends. It's going to be one, and it'll be restricted every what device you decide to use it on. But your entire family can watch it. Like if you've got a smart TV or whatever, and you want to watch it through there, that you can. But that'll cover for the people that watch it. But and of that $14.99, some of it has to go from administrative cost of the paywall that you have to that gives the code. But roughly, we'll make $13 of it, and that's a good number that we'll get back to the schools. And what Adam's trying to do.
How much are the ticket? How much are ticket sales? How much is a ticket to go to a ball game?
$8.
$8. So
$8.
watching it online is cheaper than buying 2 tickets.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that's why somebody said, well, why don't you just do $8? Well, a family of 4 may watch that. So a family of 4 costs you $32.
That's
so
right.
You're doing it half price for that. And it's going to be a first-class production. It's going to be tied in with Adam, and of course, he does a great job of play-by-play, and Chris Mays, he's color guy, and it'll be a first-class production. They've got some different cameras set up, and Blake Treadwell's helping them with some of that, too, and Lon Hurst is helping to produce.
They'll never top that Lewis Battle Call down there in Daleville, Alabama, but they are good. They do a really good job.
And I tell you I had a former board member that really stayed after me about one of the additions we needed in Roanoke City Schools was a new press box.
Uh-huh.
And I would think if we got a new press box, that guy would figure out somehow to come back and do a game. I just tell you.
Yeah, that's still a good possibility. Yeah, we'll have to keep working on that. You know, and we were talking off air a while ago. Some folks are doing this virtual now. I mean, the Braves announcers are sitting in at the stadium in Atlanta, and the team is halfway across the world. I mean, that's just crazy. And like you said, it sounds like they're sitting in the stadium.
Hey, about 2 years ago, Don, I got to have probably the most fun I've had in a while. I hated that Adam was sick, but he couldn't go to the game, so I filled in. Chris went to play-by-play, and I did the color.
Yeah, I listened to the game.
We set broadcasting back about 100 years, but I had a lot of fun doing it.
Well, one of the things I miss the most are our halftime visits. You always were so gracious to come help us fill halftime and tell us about what was going on at Hanley, and I always enjoyed that because you do a good job. You do a good job talking on radio and television and social media now, and did a great job on the interview on ABC 3340 a couple of weeks ago. I really enjoyed that as well. Yeah, different world we live in, and I know that things will change. The way that you want them to go, the way your staff wants them to go right this moment, probably isn't exactly the way it's going to end up at the end of the day. They're going to have to be you have to improvise and overcome some situations that are going to come up. And I know you'd like to take just a few moments to, again, assure the parents that you guys are going to do everything you can to keep their children as safe as humanly possible. I mean, my goodness, we can't shut down school. We've got to go to school. And I know that you really feel deeply about that and that you want to keep everybody safe.
Especially done when you factor in, we may be in this same position a year from now.
Oh, I expect we will be.
And so, I mean, are we going to say a year from now we're still not going to go to school?
Yeah.
And research shows if a child's not reading on grade level by the time they reach the end of grade 3, that they're much more likely to be a high school dropout. So that these years are so important. And we haven't been in school since March the 13th, other than the virtual stuff we did at the end of the year. And we did some good things, but we were really not prepared for that, especially at the lower grades. So we need to get back to school. One of the first things we're going to do is we're going to assess our kids at the elementary level and just see where we are. I expect us to be way behind, and we should be. I mean, when you've been out of school that long, then we've got to start working on filling in that gap. But what scares me about COVID is where eventually we will come out from this, but what is the damage that's being done while we're in it?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's damage being done by not being in school. So we're going to do everything we can to fill in those gaps for kids. And I understand our parents. And as I speak to them, I had 2 kids come through this system. They're both out now, but I understand how it is. And I'll always think like a parent. And I respect your decision if you think it's best to keep them out and do virtually. I understand that. And we're going to do everything we can. There's still hours, and we're going to help provide the best education we can to them under the circumstances. And for the ones that choose the traditional route, I promise you that we're going to do everything we can to keep those kids safe. We have a plan. Just realize that we are going to have positive cases. That's going to happen. And when it does, we have a plan on how to address that, try to mitigate that and keep it as low as possible. If it gets to the point that I do not feel like that it's safe for our staff or for our students to be on site, then we'll go completely virtual. I hope it don't come to that. And we're going to do everything we can to provide education on site, but we're not going to be stubborn about it. We're going to take the course of least regret and do everything we can to take care of our kids. Because this place is more than just a job for me. I'm starting my 31st year, and here in Roanoke, and this is a special place. And I told our people when I talked to our staff that if we can't do this in Roanoke, then nobody's going to be able to do it. With the type of people that we have and the plans that we have and the support we have from parents and our kids, if we can't mitigate this and have a successful experience in school, I don't see how anybody's going to be able to do it anywhere. And I'll leave you with this. Each year we have a theme in Roanoke City Schools, and our theme this year is be a light. Be a light. So we want to be a light for this community and for our state. That they look at Roanoke and see that we were able to do this, that we were able to provide a quality education and a safe environment for our kids, because we have so many of our kids that need to be in school, that need to be around teachers and staff that love them, that care about them, and they're pushing them to achieve at a high level. And we're going to continue to achieve at a high level in Roanoke City Schools.
Roanoke City School Superintendent Chuch Marcum, very well said, sir. It's a great day to be a Handley Tiger. See,
Amen.
You know where that came from.
Amen. Amen.
You can quote me, and I can quote you. How about that? Chuch, please accept this invitation to use this platform for whatever you need. If you have a situation that comes up and you need to get a message out there and you want to go live and talk about whatever it is that's going on in the Roanoke City school system, unless I'm in South Georgia dealing with a hurricane, and even then we can probably pull it off through mobile apps, but all you got to do, I'm just a text or a phone call away, and we'll get you on here and let you get that information out to the students and to the parents of the City of Roanoke City School System. Always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. Love picking at you about football and talking about the children of Roanoke, Alabama. It's something that's near and dear to my heart.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate you, and please know I value your friendship, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And there you go. There's another edition of Weather Chat Live on Dr. Don's weather page. Join us next time when he doesn't know it yet. Adam Slay will be our special guest on Dr. Don's weather page.